everybody, welcome to this week's video. My name's Lynda Gaiao. This week we move into trait 47, which is realization. This is the aha moment that comes when everything suddenly makes sense. Last week's video was about trait 64, and both trait 64 and 47 form a strength together. Trait 64 was the aspect of the strength that connects to all the memories of a life experience, of something that we've been through in life. And it's all these memories, and they don't come out in the exact order that the event happened. They actually come out in snippets or snapshots of a recollection of what happened. And when we move over to trait 47, which is realization, what we have here is almost like the editor who is looking at all these different film reel shots and isn't really quite sure how to organize them and how to sort them. But this is a process that happens over time, where when you allow all the possibilities or all the different perspectives or viewpoints on which you can perceive the past event to filter through the mind, at some point what happens is that this aha or this realization occurs. And it's not something that you can rush or force or make happen. It is a process where one gains clarity over time, because it's abstract and it's connected to the emotional process. And therefore it needs time to reach clarity. Because trait 47 is just below the inspiration or head center in the human design system, there's a lot of pressure on this particular trait. There's pressure to come to a realization, to come to some type of conclusion. Now, if one succumbs to the pressure or one jumps to conclusions before the process is finished, this can almost drive one a little bit crazy, because there is this feeling of never really coming to a place of making sense. And when we are considering all the various interpretations of a past event, what happens is there's often a lot of negativity, and a lot of negative perceptions of that event. And so one of the other names of this trait is oppression. So this particular process can feel quite oppressive, where there's this pressure to figure something out and this oppression feeling of, will I ever figure it out? Will I ever be able to make sense of this? The other thing that can happen here is one feeling like, when you do come to a realization, or when aha does emerge, that this is a place to take action from. And in both BG5 and human design, this is never the place to take action from. One always needs to go to the decision-making strategy to know what is correct for your own life. Where this does become useful is as an outer authority. In other words, the process of being able to sift through memories of past human experiences and come to some type of realization from that is something that can be shared with the other. And so what you find here is when people are coming to you and asking you to figure things out for them, to sift through the confusion, to come up with some kind of realizations, and you share what you do come up with, they can take this away and use it as an awesome solution to resolve their own life issues. And so it's really here to be shared with the other. And it's only when one turns this inward as, this pressure to resolve one's own life issues, or this pressure to come up with a realization for oneself, or where one kind of feels like they are crumbling under the oppression of not being able to make sense out of their own life, that this really shifts into a place of suffering, where it becomes a problem for you. And this is not how it's intended to be used. It is really something that, when correct, and when the invitation is there to share with another what you see. When we're working with anything in the abstract circuitry, it is not really something we can prove. When we move over to the logical side, there is almost this experimentation and this testing to get to a place of being able to almost prove that something works as a pattern for the future. But when we're on the abstract side, really what we come up with is ideas. And now ideas are never concrete. They are not absolutes in any form. And, when we're thinking about us having a human experience and trying to make sense out of what it means to be human, one can see that this in itself could be quite an oppressive process, because it's extremely difficult for us to come to any realization that has any kind of provability to it. It's always only going to be an idea. And part of the fascination, I guess, with this particular trait or the whole channel is to really allow oneself to move through the oppression. And when one does come to a realization, knowing that this is just one possibility in an array of many possibilities, but it may be the exact possibility that someone else is coming to you for and be the exact thing that they need at that time. And so just coming to a place of trusting and taking the time to reach that clarity through this process, and then one does not have to feel oppressed by this or get lost in the confusion of it. When we're thinking about this trait in terms of a business context, these people who have trait 47 are excellent at presenting them with bunches of different information, because what happens for them is when they are presented with all these seemingly disparate pieces of information, something's going to jump off the page for them, some type of aha or realization. And so they can be excellent at really pulling out possibilities from different pieces of information. And this could be the exact solution that you were looking for or needing. These are the types of people you go to help resolve your confusion that you're experiencing, because they're great at working with confusion. These people also, depending on who they're speaking to, may have different realizations, because this is a shared experience. And it's almost as if when you're speaking to one person, the realizations that you come up with may be completely different than if you spoke to another person. So it's interesting to see how this process works and how there is this connection with the other that is needed in order to reach the realization. These people really see an array of possibilities, and they can really make sense out of things for you. So this is an excellent person to have on your team, to see the possibilities, to sift through the confusion, and to come up with really great realizations that could be solutions for you to move forward with. So as you're moving through the coming week, what I'd encourage you to pay attention to is, are you feeling under pressure to come up with a realization? Do you feel lost in the confusion? And are you able to not take action from the pressure, not turn that confusion inwards and make it a problem with yourself? This is a really creative process, and when one can just trust in the creative process, something will emerge at some point, and there's this kind of waiting and allowing the process to unfold as it needs to. I heard a great analogy around this trait before, and basically how it went is that if you have a tomato that is ripening on a vine and you pick it too soon, essentially what you're going to get here is a tomato that may be edible, but it's not going to be full of its rich and delicious flavor. And this is how this creative process works in this trait, when one can be patient and allow the idea or the solution or the realization to kind of ripen and come to full maturity. And at that point it's going to have more effectiveness or more usefulness, rather than when we are in a hurry or in a rush or we're jumping to conclusions before the process has fully completed. You may also want to notice if you're getting any invitations from others to help them resolve their confusion this week. And remember that no matter what realization you come up with, or what pressure you feel, or whether you feel lost in the confusion, this is not a place to make decisions from. And one always needs to go back to the decision-making strategy in order to guide oneself correctly through life. I hope you have a great week under this Trait 47, and that the oppression does not become too overwhelming. If you've got any stories or questions, please pop them in the comments below. And if you want to be notified each week of the trait that becomes active, then please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can receive those notifications. Until next time, I hope you have an awesome week. Bye for now.